Hi guys, it's me again. A couple of weeks back I announced that I started a new partnership with NANLITE for their PavoTube. I've played around quite a bit with them over the last few weeks. It took me a while to come out with a review because of the holidays, of course, and some work things, but I'm finally here with the PavoTube. I had already tried it last time I made a video a few times and absolutely loved it, and I've come to love it even more. These things are brilliant. They're an absolute pleasure to work with, mainly because of how well they're built. Not just well built, but the way these things work, the options that you have, the amount of accuracy is just stunning. As most of you know, I mainly shoot cars with them, and they just offer so much flexibility. It's really nice to work with. In this video I'm going to discuss the features a bit more because I haven't really done that yet. And operating them is pretty simple actually. You have one on-off button which obviously turns them on, which looks like that. Then you have 6 operating buttons and 2 dials on the side. So the system is pretty easy. You got one dial which is to change function, basically, to go through a menu, and then the other dial is to adjust that value. So I'll show you an example when I go into the modes first. So there's 4 main modes, which is CCT, HSI, RGB cycle, and special. CCT is basically your white balance. I'm gonna do my best to show this here because it's not easy to show it on camera without blinding the sensor. You basically, CCT is really your white balance, and you can go from cold, I think it goes from about, let's see, I'm just gonna dim it first. That's a nice thing as well, you can dim in every light mode. So you can go from really warm, minus 2700, all the way up to 6500, which is your white balance scale in Kelvin, so to speak. So that you control with one dial. And then with the other dial, you can dim it all the way up and down. The dimming feature is important because, at least in my case, it happens a lot that I need control over the brightness. And what happens quite often in my case is that when you're starting to shoot in darker conditions, it's easy to overdo it with the lights. So I have to dim it, and not every light does that. So that's pretty nice feature actually. Another mode is HSI, which in my case is incredibly nice to work with. Basically, you can get the full spectrum of HSI colors, which looks like this. So your control is quite simple. You've got your color, your tint basically. Then with the other dial, you scroll to the next one, which is saturation, which is also incredibly useful. Maybe not as much in my case, but I imagine that videographers, they love this stuff. And then the next one is your dimness. So again, you can dim all the way through. So the HSI gamma goes from 0 to 360, which is pretty much every color you can imagine. I mean, it's not millions, but it's for a light, this size, this is incredible. It's stunning, and it baffles me how they do it. The next mode is RGB cycle. I don't use it all that much, but I imagine it's quite interesting for a lot of people. It has a few cycle modes, and it just cycles through RGB colors. You can set the timing. It's pretty cool. And then there's a really fun function, which is a special, and that gives you cop lights. Special has a surprising amount of detailed cop lights. So this is double mode. You've got candle mode, you got a flash timer, another flash timer. You got SOS mode, which actually does show the SOS signal. Storm mode, I haven't figured out what that does yet. I thought it would be lightning, but I haven't seen it create lightning so far. I'll have to look that up. And then there's all the cop modes, which is single, quintuple, quad, cycle, which cycles through all of them. It's pretty cool. So aside from the 4 modes, you have a menu button and an enter button. You can use the menu for things like checking the battery level. It also allows you to pair multiple PavoTubes, which is pretty cool. Basically, you can set them up as slaves and masters as you would with a flash, for example. And I think when using special effects, this can be super interesting. I haven't done it myself yet, but I will, because there's a lot of situations where I do need two lights to connect to emit the same type of light, especially if you have one behind a car, one in front of a car, things like that. Once I have it set up, I'm gonna show you guys in a video as well how to do it, how to make the best use of it, as soon as I figured that out. So overall, this thing is amazing. I've already thrown them around in my trunk, driving from shoot to shoot. They've been through a lot, and you know, they've pretty much taken a beating, but they're absolutely 100% sturdy. I love these things, and I think in the future I might get a few more actually, because they're so brilliant to work with. It's changed my workflow completely. It's given me so much freedom in my shoots, which is not what I expected, to be honest. I thought it would be a nice addition, but it's really had a big impact on my workflow. And had I known, I would have gotten them a lot sooner, but I'm just so happy that I discovered them. So there you go. This was the NANLITE PavoTube 15C. If you have any more questions, feel free to ask, or watch the next video. See you around.